In the first 7 minutes on ABC 17 News at 5, 3 Columbia businesses are robbed at gunpoint in just 3 days. We'll tell you who police are looking for and if they're related.
Plus, the trial for a Jefferson City area daycare owner accused of hurting a baby started today. Hear what happened in court.
Colder air is moving in. That's going to bring a chill to mid-Missouri here for your Tuesday. I'll show you the changing temperatures coming up in the first 7 minutes.
ABC 17 News at 5 on KMIZ starts now.
Columbia police are still looking for 3 suspects in separate business robberies in Columbia. Good evening, I'm Daniel Wynn. Dana is on assignment tonight. In the past 3 days, a sandwich shop, a motel, and a breakfast restaurant have all been the targets. While police are not talking tonight, ABC 17's Heather Horrigan went to 3 businesses and found several similarities. She joins us live from the Jimmy John's on Rangeline. In a crime alert tonight, that business was the latest to be hit. ABC 17's Heather Horrigan is live there. Heather.
Hi, Daniel. Yeah, a lot of cash was stolen here at Jimmy John's last night. Now, we don't have the exact amount of money that was stolen. Now, money was also stolen at Denny's from the cash register, and money was also taken from the front desk at the Budget Host Inn. Now, police are not talking to us tonight about whether or not these 3 robberies are in fact related. But when I was out here talking with each of the businesses today, I did learn all of the suspects in each 3 separate robberies were all wearing ski masks. On Friday morning, people at the Budget Host Inn awoke to an employee and customer bound with duct tape after 2 men with guns demanded money. Police say at least one of the robbers was wearing a mask. I went to the motel today to find extra security measures have been put in place. For instance, all doors are now locked during the day except for one. And the woman at the front desk tells me all the employees are more aware of their surroundings. A day later, just before 5:30 in the morning, an armed black man about 5.5 feet tall came into Denny's restaurant off Stadium. He demanded money, which he got, then shot into the ceiling. A restaurant manager tells me he was wearing a mask, and since the shooting, Denny's is making sure there is always at least 2 employees on duty at all times. At Jimmy John's last night, that wasn't the case. A suspect pointed a handgun at the only employee and demanded money. 2 other robbers were at Jimmy John's wearing masks as well. No one was hurt.
You know, our heart goes out to the employee. We want to just urge extra caution throughout this holiday season, but we're business as usual.
Dave Hester, who was just speaking there with Jimmy John's, tells me from now on they're always making sure there are at least 2 employees inside Jimmy John's at all time. Reporting live in Columbia, Heather Horgan, ABC 17 News.
Thank you, Heather. If you have any information about these or any other crimes, please call Crime Stoppers tip line at 875-TIPS. Tonight, opening statements are underway in a mid-Missouri woman's trial. Shelly Richter is accused of hurting a baby at an in-home daycare in Jefferson City, near Jefferson City. She was found guilty of endangering the welfare of a child last year, but was given a new trial. ABC 17's Lindsay Henry has been in the courtroom all day. And Lindsay, what have you heard so far?
Well, Daniel, I just got out of the retrial that began today, which mostly consisted of prosecuting attorney Mark Richardson questioning Lane's mother, that's Jessica Schaefer, about accidents or incidents that happened before, during, and after the accident on August 19th of 2010. Before lunch, the jury selection was made. Court started early this afternoon as prosecuting attorney Richardson made his opening statements, along with Shelly Richter's attorney, Shane Farrow, who made hers. For a majority of the afternoon, Schaefer was questioned. She states that prior to the incident at Shelly Richter's home daycare, her son Lane had never any serious injuries. But he once bumped his head on a sink faucet while they were giving him a bath, but that it didn't seem that serious, and they did not take him to the hospital. That he got a respiratory virus once he had started attending that daycare, and that he had colic. Schaefer said that on that day, a neighbor actually had called her, that's Dawn Wildley, who said that her son was unresponsive and that she had actually called 911 after Shelly had called her. Now, Shelly says that what happened is that she was holding Lane on her hip, that she had tripped over another baby and then dropped Lane, and that's what she says caused the accident. But, however, when Doctors were investigated and asked questions. They said that this was the worst bilateral hemorrhaging they had seen in 20 years and that they believed these problems were from shaken baby syndrome. Now, court is expected to continue for the next few days, and of course, I'll be attending that, updating you as we find out more information. Live in Jefferson City, Lindsay Henry, ABC 17 News.
Thank you, Lindsay, and we will continue to bring you the latest in that trial here on ABC 17, as well as Twitter, Facebook, and ABC17news.com. Well, tonight, mid-Missouri will be feeling some colder air, but through the week, we should be seeing a slight warm-up. ABC 17 Storm Track Chief Meteorologist Sharon Ray is tracking those temperature changes in your first full complete forecast. Sharon. Thank you, Sharon. Tonight, Columbia First Ward Council member Jenny Chadwick is answering her critics who say they want her off the city council. This comes after a group delivered hundreds of petition signatures calling for Chadwick's recall to the city clerk's office this morning. ABC 17's Dan Messinio spoke to Chadwick and the group pushing for her recall. And Dan, right now, both sides are waiting on the city to see what happens next.
They are, Daniel. The signatures these groups collected and handed over today have to be validated by the city clerk's office. The city has 30 days to look over the signatures to make sure they're registered voters. I talked to one of the groups that's spearheading the recall effort. The group says it's confident they have enough signatures. This morning, Como Council Watch, along with other groups, delivered 59 petition pages with 451 signatures to the city clerk's office in an effort to recall First Ward Council member Jenny Chadwick.
Ms. Chadwick has been making a lot of controversial decisions, and what we haven't seen a lot of is her interaction with her constituents on how her constituents feel about her stances on these positions.
Como Council Watch says Chadwick's deciding vote against the decriminalization of marijuana cultivation and her approval of the controversial downtown Opus development project are two of the major issues behind the recall effort. Councilmember Chadwick says she's disappointed by the recall effort. She says she's engaged in the First Ward and listens to her constituents. She says the groups trying to recall her do not represent the majority.
In my mind, outliers in the political sphere. So how do you come more to the middle? And I think that I have done a really good job in representing all of the voices, but it might not be the voice that they want to hear.
City officials tell me those leading the recall effort need 249 valid signatures. If the city clerk determines that there are not enough valid signatures, the group such as Como Council Watch would have 14 days to come up with more.
All right, thanks, Dan. City officials say if the 249 signatures can be validated by the city clerk, the Chadwick recall effort would then move to the city council for review and then go on to the next election ballot for First Ward voters. News around Missouri tonight. Missouri Attorney General Chris Koster was in the hot seat today. The bipartisan investigative committee is taking a look into allegations concerning campaign contributions within the Attorney General's office. You may remember last month when a New York Times report claimed Koster was being influenced by lobbyists and campaign donations. Tonight, the St. Louis County prosecutor is being accused of holding back a police interview with a key witness when it released the thousands of documents after a grand jury decided not to charge a Ferguson police officer in Michael Brown's death. A spokeswoman says Prosecutor Bob McCullough says he can't explain the discrepancy. The 2-hour interview was with Dorian Johnson, who was with Brown when he was shot. Also in Ferguson, federal officials are offering up to a $10,000 reward for information leading to arrests of protesters who set fires after the grand jury decision. The ATF is singling out an arson at Flood Christian Church in nearby Country Club Hills. Bomb and arson units from St. Louis County and the Highway Patrol investigators are also helping in that investigation. They ask that anyone with any information, including video or photographic evidence, to email them to fergusonfiresatf.gov. And tonight, the Ferguson Commission is holding a public discussion on police and community relations in the area. The 16-person panel is meeting near the Botanical Gardens, where last night, nearly 100 protesters demonstrated. Coming up new tonight at 6, officials and government buildings are on high alert in preparation for tomorrow's release of a CIA report. Hear what's expected to be revealed. We'll be right back.
You're watching ABC 17 News at 5 on KMIZ, where the news comes first, with Dana Clemens, Daniel Wynn, and Storm Track Chief Meteorologist Sharon Ray.
News around America tonight. Now the White House and U.S. embassies are preparing for higher security risks after the release of a report on CIA interrogation techniques. White House officials say the administration strongly supports the Tuesday release of the report from the Senate Intelligence Committee. The report is the first public accounting of the CIA's use of torture on al-Qaeda detainees held in secret facilities in Europe and Asia in the years after the September 11th attacks. Federal officials announced new law enforcement guidelines for racial profiling. The new Justice Department says protection from profiling will be expanded but won't apply to screenings at airports, borders, and intelligence operations. The new guidelines will bar profiling based on religion, national origin, gender, sexual orientation, and gender identity. Attorney General Eric Holder started working on racial profiling limits in 2009, but ran into opposition from the FBI and Homeland Security. Tonight, protesters continue to push for an indictment in the Garner case. Today, they were outside the U.S. Capitol. The group also demonstrating for Michael Brown chanted, quote, "Black Lives Matter," and held signs with the names of African Americans killed by police. They're calling for a human rights investigation. Similar protests are happening all over the nation after the recent grand jury decision not to indict officers in Garner and Brown's death. An Idaho man is facing charges after threatening to bomb an elementary school. Authorities say 25-year-old Jacob Moore was just trying to get investigators off of his tail when he called in the threat. Officers were already at his home to arrest him on a felony warrant when he made the call. Authorities say they easily tracked the call to Moore because he used his own phone. No device was found at the school. And in Maryland tonight, 6 people are dead after a small plane crashed into a home. Emergency responders say 3 people were on that plane when it went down in the Washington, D.C. suburb. They've now confirmed 3 of the 5 residents in the home are dead. The home is nearly destroyed and 2 other homes also caught fire. FAA officials say the plane was approaching a nearby airport. Federal investigators are working to find out the cause of that crash.
Well, we have some colder air moving in tonight and tomorrow, but it's short-lived. We start to warm right back up. I'll have a track of that warmer air as it moves in with a changing weather pattern. I'll show you that coming up next. Absolutely.
Thanks, Sharon.
All right.
Tonight, post office workers are upping their work hours to get your packages delivered during the holidays. And find out if your car is part of an expanded recall for defective airbags. Those details next. With another cyber attack. The attack knocked the network offline for a few hours this morning. Customers say a note popped up saying, quote, "Page not found. It's not you. It's the internet's fault." The hacker group Lizard Squad claimed responsibility for that attack and warned more are coming. Sony was breached last week. Tonight, the race is on to get gifts and cards mailed to loved ones by Christmas. The U.S. Post Office is making deliveries 7 days a week to keep up with the demand. Letter deliveries are on the decline, but workers say parcel shipments are up because of the internet. The 7-day deliveries will only last through this Christmas. And a recall alert tonight, Honda now expanding its airbag recall to nearly 3 million more vehicles in the U.S. So far, Honda is the only automaker to comply with government demands for national repairs on the faulty airbags made by Takata Corporation. The airbags can explode and spew metal shrapnel inside the car. At least 5 people have died from the problem. Honda says it will fix the problem for free on more than 5 million cars. Well, Sharon, we'll have another look at your forecast when we come back. All right, thank you very much, Sharon. That does it for us. We'll see you back at 6.